So Sobi's just running a couple minutes late, but I'll get started because we know everyone's time is valuable. So today we're going to be talking about managing health and safety to reduce claims and earn double rebates through the HSEP program, the Health and Safety Excellence Program. So this webinar is organized by 4S, and we are partnering by ORMA and WSIB. So for today's panelists, we have Vanessa Blau, Sophie Raghunathan, and Fatima Finnegan. Vanessa is from, I'll be kind of introducing in more detail, but Vanessa is from the WSIB. She is a program management consultant. Sophie Raghunathan, she's my VP of Operations, Strategy and Partnerships at Forest Consulting. And Fatima, thank you so much for joining. She's the Vice President from for ORMA, and she is the Workforce Initiatives and Industry Relations Manager. So going over what Vanessa's bio, so Vanessa Blau is a program management consultant for the WSIB. Vanessa has a bachelor's in science and biology from Western University, and she's graduated with a master's in epidemiology from the University of Toronto in 2001. She's passionate about the health and safety program created by WSIB and helping Ontario businesses understand the value of health and safety. Before joining the Health and Safety Services, Vanessa focused her last 20 years in the healthcare sector, where she led program development, quality improvement, and performance measurement in private, government, and nonprofit and charitable organizations. For the Forest panelists today, we have Sophie Raghunathan, who is the Vice President of Operations and Strategy and Partnerships for Forest Consulting. Sophie holds a degree in occupational health and safety from the TMU University. She is a true leader and an inspiration for women and minority communities, and is the physical embodiment of women's excellence. Giving back to her alma mater as a member of the TMU Board of Governors and speaking to occupational health and safety and business students is one way she shares her knowledge and skills. Sophie has led 4S to implement sustainable programs for its 1,500 clients, such as HSEP, Core 2020, and ISO 45001. That has developed a dynamic safety culture within those organizations and communities, thus impacting more than 4 million lives and prevented countless injuries, accidents, and fatalities. She is a strong leader who works with Fortune 500 and multinational organizations such as Starbucks, Toyota, the Greater Toronto Airport Association, and Randstad to establish strong health and safety cultures, contributing towards employee well-being and business prosperity. And finally, a great big thank you to Fatima Finnegan, who is the Vice President of the Workforce Initiatives and Industry Relations for ORMA. Thank you, Fatima, for joining us and coordinating this webinar. An Ontario hospitality leader with over 30 years of industry experience and a proven track record with positive contributions to the hospitality industry. Fatima's hospitality management background has provided her experiences with Holiday Inns, Venture Inns, Crown Plazas, Travel Lodge, hotels, and quality and properties. This experience has led her to an opportunity to teach for a number of years at Humber College of Applied Arts and Technology in Hospitality and Recreation and Tourism. She's also proud to be with the ORMA since 1999 and to represent over 12,000 hospitality members. So now, just before we get started, I want to make sure I run a poll to kind of gauge the interest of today's participants and attendees. So if you could just fill out the poll that we have. I've launched it and there's about 6 questions. We'll just give the poll just another minute. Thank you everyone for giving your information for the poll. Now I'll be handing it over to Sobi to talk about managing health and safety to reduce claims.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. Sorry, I had a little bit of a technical glitch logging in. It's nice to see everyone. And as always, Ogma, thank you so much, Fatima, for organizing and supporting us with this webinar. And Vanessa, you have always been a great support from the WSIB side. We have done enough webinars for various different associations and of course for Ogma quite a few times as well. The whole purpose of this webinar this morning is WSIB is giving rebates, which majority of you do know and have heard about it. Why? I'm sure many of you understand that WSIB made a lot of changes in the last few years to the rate groups. In the past, you used to be actually lumped into a similar group, your rate group, with people who have similar type of businesses. And your rate group reflects that. And based on the performance, overall performance of the people in the rate group, you do normally get a notice saying that whether your premiums are going up or down. All those has been amended in the last few years, especially in 2019. A lot of changes took place. A lot of people still don't understand. Right now, it is based on your organization's individual performance. It's no different than your automobile insurance or any other insurance. I guess the auto insurance is an easier one for us to compare because based on your performance, your rates are going to either get better or it's going to get worse. So as health and safety, this WSIB insurance and protection is for workers for when they get injured. So what you should be focusing on is having a robust health and safety management system in place so that you can avoid the type of accidents and incidents from happening. And if it does happen, then how are you going to bring the person back to work and give them modified duties so that they are not staying at home and creating lost time injuries? The more number of lost time injuries you have, the more WSIB premiums are being paid out. Then they're going to look at it and compare you to other people, but it is your individual performance overall. And then your rate is either going to go up or go down. A lot of people don't, a lot of businesses are not understanding the impact of having a large terms of funds. You're going to be having a good protocol for that. You're going to come up with programs to minimize accidents and injuries. And when accidents and injuries happens, you also want to figure out how you can prevent a similar type of incident from taking place in the future. That's the whole purpose of accident investigation, coming up with preventive strategies, communicating corrective actions to the affected teams, and then making sure the controls that you implement is working well. Along with this return to work programs, you do need to have a detailed return to work programs. It's well communicated to the employees. They understand when they get injured that they do need to go see the doctors and do need to let the doctors know there are going to be modified duties available with the employer. So if they do have certain restrictions, they can come back to work and perform modified duties rather than staying at home and not being able to do any work. So these are some of the things that have to be included as part of your health and safety management system program. All your employees needs to understand this so that overall your health and safety management system is being well maintained and sustained. A lot of things starts with communication. A lot of people, you may have a lot of policies and procedures in place, but you may not focus on, is everybody aware of all the details in your policies and procedures? That's why we always use the term, make sure your health and safety program is implemented and it is integrated as part of your organizational culture. From the time a person gets onboarded, you have a protocol where health and safety is part of your organizational policies and procedures. So with that, I'm going to see how this leads into taking advantage of the safety excellence program and the rebates that are available for employers. Thanks to WSIB for coming up with the pandemic relief support, which started in the middle of last year. And they saw that a lot of employers are taking advantage of it. So they have extended the double rebate program till end of this year. It is a great way for you to either revamp or build your health and safety management system in small block size pieces. If you are a small restaurant who have paid less than $5,000 in premiums, then based on the premiums that you have paid, we can work with you to implement topics, up to 5 topics for each action plan. And it is not just showing that you have a policy or a procedure. You do need to validate it to make sure it is communicated, it is being maintained, and it is, for example, I will use first aid. A first aid program, you do need to have a policy and a procedure, but you do need to show how it was communicated to all your employees, and then show evidence for the next 2 months, how you are maintaining and sustaining the program by collecting inspection checklists from the various first aid kits that you maintain at your facility, collecting everybody's training certificates, as well as any treatment logs that has happened in the last 2 months. Then you have to submit that to WSIB to show this program is implemented to the fullest detail that it is possible and it is being maintained and sustained. So that is what WSIB is looking at with the Safety Excellence Program. And Vanessa is here to talk to us about the details of the program and what WSIB is doing today to support businesses in giving double rebates and sign-up bonuses for tapping into this particular funding that they have available. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Vanessa, where she can actually take us through some of the basics of the Safety Excellence Program, and then we will come back again to talk about few other opportunities in terms of how you can get started with this program. Thank you all, and thank you, Vanessa.
Thanks so much, Sobi. Just gonna share my screen here. Okay, can everybody see my screen okay?
We can't see your screen, Vanessa.
Oh.
You have to share.
Help if I push the share button. How about now?
It works, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thanks to everybody for joining us this morning, and for Sobi's great introduction there, and thanks to Orma, for Fatima, and for everybody who's on presentation today. Before we start, I would just like to do land acknowledgement. So in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge that the land we inhabit today, which we operate our offices across Ontario and our businesses across Ontario, are traditional territories of First Nation and Métis people and the residents of many Inuit people. We recognize the past history, the vibrant spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land of all Indigenous peoples. We are committed to reconciliation and growing new relationships, partnerships, and understanding to achieve prosperity for all. Thank you. So, Sophie talked a little bit about why workplace health and safety is important. So really, whatever sort of work you do, health and safety really should be a priority for your business, because ultimately you want to make sure that your employees and your customers are safe, and those two tend to go together. So it is about complying with legislation, but it also goes beyond that, because investing in health and safety is really actually good for business. The work you can do, as Sophie mentioned, it can reduce your injuries, can decrease absenteeism. There's evidence to show that it helps to improve productivity and profit. And again, above all, it will help to increase both employee and customer satisfaction. So I just have a few stats here for you to help support sort of what Sophie was talking about what can we do to sort of what are we looking at to reduce here. So if you look at your profile for your sector, which is leisure and hospitality, and you look at the claim count, sprains and strains is the #1 there. But if you also look at some of the different information here, when you go down to fractures, that's a really interesting one. You've got the highest number of average days lost per claim, and you've got a bit of a different age group in that category. So a lot in your industry, recognizing there's a lot of younger workers who kind of fit that vulnerability category. Their health and safety and working is new to a lot of them. So it's really important to emphasize that, especially with that group, to try to reduce your injury claims. So you can see from the circle there on the right bottom right, food counter attendants, kitchen helpers, and related occupations, that was 24% was the highest percent of the occupation that had the highest number of claims. And just a few other things. In the industry, the lost time injury rate and the number of lost time injuries actually increased from 2020 to 2022. There were some fatalities that already happened in 2023. Definitely want to try to avoid those. In 2022, there were over 70,000 days lost to injury. The premium rate also went up for the leisure and hospitality overall from 0.94 in 2022 to 1.02 in 2023. And just out of interest for this group, over 125 million we paid in premiums in 2022. So definitely working towards trying to reduce that overall at a class and at an individual level. So how can we help with this through WSIB's Health and Safety Excellence Program and working with a provider like 4S to help you reduce those injuries and illness and reduce the number of claims and increase your employee well-being? We have this program we developed, and not a lot of people know this, but we actually have a mandate to promote health and safety in Ontario workplaces at the WSIB, and that's part of the reason we created this program. It really will help protect your employees and customers. It'll help you. So we talked a lot about building a stronger health and safety culture by implementing a lot of these policies and procedures and making sure they're living and breathing in your organization. And the best part of this is that you can earn rebates on your premiums while you do that. So again, keeping people safe at work is really important to us at the WSIB. We are well trained and equipped to help anybody who has a workplace injury, and as Sophie mentioned, help them return to work. But we much prefer that employees don't get hurt in the first place. So we're going to do what we can to work with you, work with 4S to help reduce those work-related injuries and illness through this program. So I'll tell you a little bit more about how the Health and Safety Excellence Program works. There are currently 36 health and safety topics in the program. They're soon to be 39, and that news will be coming out shortly in the summer months. And what the program is designed is to really help you build a robust health and safety management system. And so we talked about like really making sure that's sustainable, that it's not just a one-time thing. So when I talk and I say something like a topic, and there's topics which within each of these levels, it's not a training course, although that might be part of something that you do. It's actually something that you curate and you work with individually when you pick a topic for your organization so that you can embed it in your everyday work. And then, as Sophie mentioned, proudly show us to the WSIB that you've actually done the work by uploading evidence that you've done it into your digital tools. So showing us what you've done to make sure that everybody knows about the topic. Sophie mentioned first aid. So does everybody know about it? Are they practicing it? Do they know where everything is? And so that's really a way to embed that into your everyday work. And this is what we know from the best evidence out there is the best way to implement health and safety. You can always check off a box, say you've taken a training course, but if that's only a few people or that's kind of like a booklet sitting on a shelf, it's not going to be as impactful to help you reduce those possibility of those claims and injury and illness happening. So you can choose, like so we said, up to 5 topics within a year or an action plan cycle. Sometimes some of the topics are a little bit easier to implement than others, especially at the foundation level. So speaking of that, we call it foundation level. Sometimes we call it level 1. This really includes topics that help you lay the groundwork of basic health and safety program. This includes a topic like first aid, and includes something like health and safety communication. And it includes a lot of the legislative requirements, but also things like performing a risk assessment. So really understanding where do you have the highest risk? What are those hazards that you need to really be focusing on? Thinking again of preventing those injury and illness. So it allows you to go beyond the requirements to uncover the causes of those workplace injuries and illness, and then take the steps to address them. Level 2 or intermediate is what it says here, to really build the program that you started on that foundational level. And the whole health and safety excellence program is designed on the fact that this is a journey for you. So it's not just like doing something once and then stopping. It really keeps you going all the way up to that advanced level, and then beyond that into excellence. Once staff really get into this and get excited, you're going to want to build on that momentum and keep going with implementing topics. So level 2 is where you start to work on the health and safety management system, meaning you are really integrating your health and safety program into the processes, the operations, the activities of your organization. Once you can get through those different topics at that different level, and I should mention too at intermediate, a lot of organizations don't have a great return to work program. WSIB is here to help with that, but to be able to have that in place at your work, that's another good example of an intermediate level topic and something you can definitely build on depending on where you are in your health and safety journey. So level 3 is really where you optimize that system so it's truly working to prevent injuries and illnesses. This is where you do a lot of that measurement, a lot of that tracking, a lot of that continuous improvement, making sure that you're continuously assessing and controlling those hazards and ensuring those processes are in place. So as I mentioned, one of the things about this program, and so we mentioned that too, it is a program that rewards you for making your workplace safer. So when you finish a topic, you'll provide us with a write-up of the work you've done. We'll review it, and once we've confirmed that you've met the topic requirements, so each topic has some paragraphs that kind of describe the work that you have to do, and if you've met those, then you'll be eligible for a rebate. They are different for everyone because they're calculated using the amount you paid in WSIB premiums the previous year. So your rebates this year are based on your premium amounts for 2022, and your rebates next year will be based on the payments you paid this year, etc. So the equation for working out rebates is not super complicated, but we don't need to get into those details now. And I'll give you an example though in the next few slides. What that looks like for somebody who pays premiums at the level of 20,000, but we have set a minimum rebate of $1,000 per topic. So even if your premium amounts are really low, your rebate won't be lower than $1,000 per topic or up to 100% of your prior year premiums. That being said, Sylvia was talking about getting double the rebates. So we are very conscious that small businesses have to almost work extra hard at implementing health and safety because you don't necessarily have a point person for that. Might have an HR person working on it. And when I say smaller, I mean businesses with less than 100 employees. So we want to reward you for almost like the extra effort you have to take compared to the large businesses that have a business that has all those resources in place. So in 2023, we doubled the rebates for smaller businesses. So you'll get really a minimum of $2,000 for every topic you complete, or up to 200% of your prior year premium. So we're really trying to encourage and really help out the smaller business in trying to implement, health and safety. So to join the program, you'll need to choose a provider to work with. So 4S is one of our chosen and approved health and safety professionals who will help you through this. So that's another great thing about this program is that we work with providers like 4S. So they'll help you through every step of the journey. They are vetted by us through a rigorous recruitment process. And so they have lots of experience doing this with business. It launched in fall of 2019. So we're well into understanding really how to help you implement health and safety through the Health and Safety Excellence Program. And they'll really, help you with training that you need to do, give you some peer learning opportunities, lots of access to great templates and tools and examples so you don't have to start from scratch. WSIB has those as well. So there's lots of information so that you don't have to, do everything on your own and start everything from the beginning. And we also have a special program going on as part of that double the rebates that if you are a smaller business, you'll receive $1,000 towards provider fees when you enroll in the program. So we really are trying to support you in your health and safety journey. So this is an example of a business who paid $20,000 last year, paid $20,000 in premiums. So let's just say they completed 5 topics in the program. Based on our formula, we're assuming that they're at a low predictability, which means they don't have a huge amount of individual influence on their claims. Although it still is there, it's also impacted by the class rate. So normally that would be $400, but because we have that minimum, there's $1,000 per topic. At $1,000 for 5 topics, that's $5,000 in a regular year. This year it's doubled. That would be $10,000 plus the $1,000 support towards provider fees. The total financial support that this business would receive would be $11,000 to implement health and safety. So in addition to rebates, you're also going to receive digital badges, and here's what they look like. That's an example of one, and you can use those wherever you are want to help support and just really showcase that you are committed to health and safety, which of course from COVID became a really important thing for both your customers and for your employees to know that they're both working and enjoying the services in a safe environment. So this is a really a great way to do that. to showcase that through this digital badge. And just to note that 82% of people from a survey that we did with Leger said that they want to check out the health and safety information of a new workplace before starting a new job. So especially for leisure and hospitality, when you're recruiting a lot over summer months, and you're recruiting from the younger population who is a lot more attuned to now looking stuff up on the web, and on the internet, 82% of people said they want to check it out before starting a new job. So it's a great way to showcase that you're a great place to work by participating in the program. We also have a 10% discount for Marks for the Health and Safety Excellence Program members. And below there, the last image you see there, just to let you know that anybody can look up your business on our Safety Check website. It is a public website where they can look at your injury and illness history. They can view your profile, but they can also view your health and safety excellence member badge right there on our Safety Check program. It's also exciting to share that based on a survey we did with program members in 2021 that 2022 showed that 81% were satisfied with their health and safety excellence program experience, which for that kind of survey is an incredible result to get that high a percentage saying that they were satisfied. In 2021, we also did a survey and 90% of members reported an improvement in their health and safety culture, which again, so we mentioned this, it's so important to have that supportive culture. If you don't have that culture in place, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to implement that. We also have a free culture survey as part of the Health and Safety Excellence Program that you can implement. It's 13 easy questions. You can do that with your staff. It really gets at how do they feel about health and safety. And then you can measure that over time as well to see if there's any changes after you've implemented your health and safety program. So just to round this off, just a few testimonials here. We have from Brian's Little Electric. We always thought we were doing everything safe, but there's another lens you can look at through to really get down to all the details, which is what they've been doing with the Health and Safety Excellence Program. It's been really successful. The field staff have actually felt a lot of pride. As I mentioned, they really like to get involved in this. It's very inclusive program in knowing that the company cares about them and their safety. And by making safety a priority, we're looking out for them, and this has made them happier at work and more productive. And long goes here. So the Health and Safety Excellence Program is now part of our day-to-day routines. It's helped us to prevent injuries. Last year was one of the strongest years we've had with a decrease in our injury frequency rates. We have also seen a remarkable improvement in employees' approach and attitudes as we develop through our program and topics. So those are some pretty strong testimonials there. And really, again, such a great program to involve all your employees and build that culture and really help to reduce those injury and illness and reduce the chance of those things.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, for the information. I'm sure the audience today is going to be highly appreciate the presentation that you had for the WSIB HSEP 2023 program. So now I'm going to open the floor to any questions that the audience may have. If you can message them, or if you'd like, you can raise your hand and I can unmute them.
So while we are waiting for questions to come in, I do want to add, it's a great way for every organization to get started in re-looking at your health and safety program. We have been serving health and safety, providing services and support to various different clients, including hospitality, for the last 18 years. What we commonly see is majority of the workplaces, when I say majority, at least a good 95% of the workplaces would have some level of a health and safety manual and some postings that they would have with the one-page policy statement. But is it being updated? Is it being reflective of your organization's exposures and hazards? Those are the biggest concerns you should actually start thinking about, because you may have bought a manual from a consulting company, or you may have downloaded something nowadays. You could go in and find something similar in the internet and download and create your own health and safety program. But is that enough? What we always tell our clients, and what I tend to preach in my 23 plus years in the health and safety field, serving the various different industries, is think about all the various different hazards and exposures you have, particularly at your workplace. Just close your eyes and think about all the potential hazards your employees could be exposed to. Vanessa went through amazing stats on the hospitality industry, especially in the hospitality industry, the type of incidents and accidents that has been happening and the number of lost days. 70,000 lost days just in Ontario alone in the hospitality sector. Just think about how can you prevent, we talk about workplace violence and harassment. It is a huge deal, especially in the service industry, because you are entertaining to public. You are not just working with the employees. And when public is coming in, there's many other issues that comes with it. People have their own issues that they're dealing with. They could be edgy, choppy. They could be, taking their anger on somebody else. Your restaurant or a hotel could be located in a high crime area. So the chances of your employees being exposed to other situations are going to be much higher. These are all part of building and actually looking at all the various different scenarios and incorporating all that into your health and safety program. Vanessa went over the foundational topics, intermediate topics, and advanced topics. I always advise all of our clients, we have well over 300 plus clients who are currently tapping into the Health and Safety Excellence Program at WSIB. And the Forest model is a hand-holding model, because all of you are stretched for resources, you wear multiple different hats, and you do need somebody who is holding their hands and taking you through this journey. And our intention is to implement the program. So we always say, let's relook at your topics that you have implemented, and let's get you at least started with some of the foundational topics so that we are building this from ground above, and then start adding more and more details to the program as we are going through it. Because you could, when you open up an action plan, you could finish those topics and move on to the next set of action plans. So we always advise the clients, if you have paid more than $5,000 in premium, let's start with 5 topics, because that's the maximum we could start with. And when we take you to the action plan portal, we could get you registered, and when you register, you get your $1,000 bonus, and then we start working on implementing the 5 topics. Once you successfully complete the 5 topics, which typically takes anywhere in between 3 to 5 months, then WSIB will validate it and release the rebate payment, which is $1,000 a topic times 2. One more thing I will add before we go into answering the questions is, this program, the double rebate, is for 100 employee, 100 or less number of employees. And one of the common questions that we see with the service industry is a lot of part-time and casual workers. And you may have about 150 or 160 employees, but according to WSIB's records from 2022 premiums, you will be still under 100 headcount in most cases. It all depends on the number of hours and the calculations they use for 100 full-time equivalency headcount. Vanessa, if you can kind of just expand on that, because that seems to be a common question that we get asked by employers.
No, absolutely, you're correct. It's based on a full-time equivalency. It's just easier for us to talk about it as from 100 employees or less. So if you do have a lot of part-time staff, then yes, just work with for us or can work with one of the consultants at WSIB to make sure that you fit that criteria. So absolutely don't let that scare you off that we say that. It is based on full-time equivalency. So yeah.
So I'm just looking at some of the questions in terms of the common one I'm seeing is due diligence. My favorite topic. If you look at health and safety, it's not nice to have, it's a must have. It is the law and it is an act. The Occupational Health and Safety Act in Ontario governs the occupational health and safety protocols and standards that employers need to follow. In section 25 of the act, it clearly identifies employers' responsibility. It goes to, employers shall have a safe workplace, have written policies and procedures, provide necessary training, appoint competent people as supervisors and managers. And then they add one layer which says, an employer shall do everything reasonable under the circumstances to protect the employees. So that is the overarching sentence that they use to ensure that every employer is doing everything reasonable under the circumstances to protect their employees. So in terms of due diligence, I always say, you need to first of all start with identifying your hazards and exposures. And it needs to be documented. So it can't be just, oh yeah, I just walked along and I assessed and I know my hazards and exposures and I just told, how to safely do, and I gave a little bit of orientation, hands-on stuff to my employees. Is that enough? Absolutely not. When Ministry of Labor, and one of the questions that anonymous attendee has posted here is that, hey, I have been in business for years and nothing has happened so far, and no inspectors or needs to show no inspections has happened. Ministry of Labor does random inspections. They normally show up for three things. They are doing a spot inspection, so they are randomly doing inspections, walking in, and when they are walking in to do a random inspection, or it could be part of a blitz. Ministry of Labor posts different blitz in their website and different sectors, and they're focusing on certain protocols for those blitz. When they're coming in, they're looking at basic stuff like, do you have your one-page policy statement posted? Is it current within the last 12 months? Is it dated by the most, is it dated and is it signed by the most senior person? Do you have a workplace violence and harassment policy in place? Is it posted? Is it within the last 12 months? Do you provide WMS training and, do you have a health and safety manual? Do you have first aid kits? If you have 20 or more employees regularly employed, which includes your part-timers, do you have a joint health and safety committee? Is the names of the committee members posted? And when was the last time you had the meeting? So these are some of the common things that they look at, and they are looking at things at the surface level. They may give you orders for anything that you don't have at the time when they are doing an inspection from what they see, and ask you to fulfill those orders. Common things is providing training, the mandatory training. There are 4 mandatory training in Ontario. Every employer have to provide. Workplace violence and harassment, AODA, which is not really health and safety, but every Ontarian must know about the protocols for AODA, which is accessibility for disabled Ontarians. WMS 2015. Understanding all the various different hazardous products in your work environment, exposures, how to control those hazards, how to safely handle those. Every employee needs to know that. And basic duties and responsibilities and rights under the Occupational Health and Safety Act for Ontarian workers. So these are 4 mandatory training everybody needs to provide to their employees or make sure that they are aware of it. When we say training, it can be a group of employees coming together. You have to cover the contents that is expected in the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So Ministry of Labor is pretty much looking for mandatory stuff. And if you have more than 20 or more employees regularly employed, you do need to have a joint health and safety committee, and the committee must be up and running and two people, one manager, one worker have to have certification training. And it can only be done by approved training providers by the Ministry of Labor. It is 5 days of training, and you do need to do inspections on a monthly basis and have to have records. So it's all about having written records, physical records. It cannot be hearsay. That is what due diligence is. You should be able to identify your hazards, do a hazard assessment, write your policies and procedures to reflect those hazards and how to mitigate those risks, communicate that to your work environment. And if you have new hires coming in, you do need to have orientation program in place. And then you do need to maintain your workplace by doing inspections, maintaining first aid kits, your fire emergency plans, inspecting all the various different equipment. The meetings have to happen for Joint Health and Safety Committee or safety reps. One more thing I do want to bring it to your attention is Ministry of Labor is giving funding for safety rep training. If you have 5 or more employees regularly employed, which includes your part-time and casual, and less than 20, then you need to have a worker identified as a safety rep, and they do need to take extra training to understand their duties and responsibilities and what they need to do. They are giving money for that. It is a 6 hours of e-learning. For us is providing that. It is free of charge. From the Ministry of Labor, you go and fill out the paperwork, and they are reimbursing for the 6 hours time as well. So Ministry is enabling a lot of solutions and working together with WSIB. Now they're actually giving you money for you to implement or revamp your health and safety program in a more structured way so that you can prove due diligence. It's you being able to show document trail that the program is being implemented, communicated, and being sustained. The key word is sustained and keeping it alive. Many workplaces would have health and safety program that they created about 3 years or 5 years ago, but they haven't done anything. In those cases, you cannot prove due diligence. And to answer the final question about being able to prove due diligence or Ministry of Labor coming in, the third scenario Ministry of Labor comes in is when there is an accident or an injury, a critical accident. A fracture to an arm, hand, leg, it is considered a critical injury. Ministry of Labor will come in to investigate it. At that point, it is too late for you to implement your program. You do need to show everything. That is when they are going to go through your program in detail to see, have you done everything reasonable under the circumstances to protect your employees? So please, I mean, due diligence is a big topic. I could be sitting here giving you lectures on due diligence, what to do, what not to do, how to go about proving due diligence, but I'm just giving you a quick recap of what you should be aware of. And there's one more situation where Ministry of Labor can come in if somebody has, one of your employees or neighbors or outsiders have called in and complained about your work situation, then Ministry of Labor can come in to investigate. So I think I touched upon the resource, due diligence, documentation, in terms of getting health and safety system support. The Health and Safety Excellence Program is a great way for you to get started where you're going to get the support. WSIB have vetted about 21 providers. Forest is one of those providers. Every provider have different models and support levels. What we have done is we have actually identified some of the pain points from previous experience working with clients, and especially for hospitality industry, with you being stretched for resources, people actually wearing multiple different hats in terms of your responsibility. You need a lot of help with hand-holding and getting the legwork done. Forest's model is a hand-holding and legwork. So we do the heavy lifting for you. We work with a lot of stuff, and you will have a dedicated person who from start to finish, taking you to the portal to get you registered, to the uploading stuff into the WSIB portal. We are going to be there every step of the way. assisting you and being there to handhold you so that we can successfully complete these 5 topics. That's if you have paid $5,000 or more in premiums last year, then we encourage you to do 5 topics. If you had paid $3,000 in premiums last year, then we are going to advise you to do 3 topics because that will give you the maximum rebate. It is music to my ears when employers comes and says, the rebates are great. You know what? I want to take this as opportunity. I want to revamp my health and safety program. I want to do 5 topics regardless of how much of rebate I'm going to get. It doesn't matter, but I want to rebuild my program. We love working with clients like that because you're doing it for the right reason, not just for due diligence purposes, but you're doing it because you want to have a robust health and safety management system in place, which is integrated as part of your organizational culture. So we start from, working on giving the templates for manuals, working with you on communication, how you should go about doing the communication, and having project management following up to make sure that we take you to the finish line. In most cases, people do get started, but then they don't complete because they have so many different moving pieces that's happening at their workplace, and they kind of move this program to the back burner. If you don't complete, if you don't upload the final documents, then a validator cannot assess it. If they cannot assess it, then you're not going to get your rebate. This seems to be a common thing with many other models that's out there. So our model is different. As I said, it's start to finish. It's anywhere in between 3 to 5 months for us to successfully complete 5 topics with you, because we do need to show evidence. I used first aid as an example where we do need to collect at least 2 months worth of documentation to show to WSIB validators that the program is implemented and it's not just in paper, but it is being maintained and sustained at the workplace. So typically 3 to 5 months. So our models are based on number of topics, and it can range anywhere in between $600 to $700 per topic. And this includes, we are giving free e-learning for anybody who's participating for the full mandatory training program. So this way you could also put a tick mark on the compliance for the mandatory training, because our intention is long-term solution of leaving you with sustainable health and safety management system, which is integrated as part of your organizational culture. So I think I have answered majority of the questions. If I have left anything else, Vanessa, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to address, we do have, like with a lot of the, we have so many that fit that small business category who are registered with WSIB. And we often get that question, well, nothing's happened so far, then, that why should I bother? And I guess answer to that is you saw from the stats that I showed you on that side that things do happen. So what you really don't want to take is that risk that something could happen, because we know it does. We've seen the evidence that it does. So you want to make sure that, just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that it couldn't. So it really is from the lens of prevention. And thinking of from that mindset, have you done everything to make sure that you're going to prevent something that happened to one of your peers? And do you know that? Do you know that you've done everything in place? The other thing, though, if you do have a management system in place and you've done everything you can, there are certain topics within the Health and Safety Excellence Program that might surprise you. So we have a workplace health and workplace health promotion topic that really focuses, could focus on things like implementing a mental health program, which is a really big part of a lot of what workplaces are working on. Is kind of the future of work as well, to focus on that. At the advanced level, we have a corporate social responsibility topic, which might be of really interest. So the program actually goes a little, it does address majority or all of the legislative requirements, but it also goes beyond that. So there is opportunity for you to really become at that level of excellence in your organization when it comes to health and safety and supporting your employees. So again, just thinking of it from both of those lenses as well. you know, going above and beyond the bare minimum of what you have to do to really support that culture of health within your organization is something that the Health and Safety Excellence Program can also help you do.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Sobi, as well, for answering all the questions. Thank you for the attendees to being here with us today. I hope you can take back some of this information to make your organizations safer and stronger. And thank you very much for giving us your time and making sure that you get more information about this amazing program from the WSIB. And hopefully we can work with you to implement these programs into your workplace. Thank you, everyone, and have a safe day.